some TikTok, women in war. I have some insights. And when I share it, people go, I've never heard that before. And that's why I share it. It's not this gender thing, whatever. I don't care about that. It's dabbling with, call it science, psychology, whatever. I get into that. So,
One thing we missed yesterday, though, I we didn't talk about projects you're working on.
right. For if you've been listening about the broken ribs, yeah, we've been framing and roofing the house. I'm a general contractor by day, and I got lots of time right now with these busted ribs. So I was roofing, did some ninja kick, flying squirrel thing, and I didn't land it.
Did not land it.
I did not even bounce. It just
Ow,
smacked the pins. My bad.
that sounds painful.
Yeah, I heard 5 minutes went by. I was like, oh man. And I crawled here and moved. And I was like, my other worker who's, you know, like 58, 60, he was like, why don't you give yourself a half an hour? And if you're not feeling it, just go home, you know. And so half hour went by and I was like, there's no way. And then a few days later, I was like, there's just no way something else. But anyway, finally, 2 weeks later, I got an X-ray. They're like, "Oh yeah, getting real."
2 weeks you waited?
Yeah, because usually, like, if it's just a tendon or dislocation, that stuff, I don't. I'm pretty tough. I'll run 12 miles on a broken leg. Like, I
Okay, I want to see that.
I have that like a certain high pain tolerance. You know, like in the military, they'd have us do stuff, and the old tough guy, I would be able to achieve higher, and most of it's just pain management. I can endure more pain than other people and win. I'd be like, "Ah, it was just they do the air squat, 20 minutes later, everyone's dying. I'm like, oh, so I think it's just pain management. But anyway, I just knucklehead that way. But I am getting a little older and don't bounce as well as I used to. And uh, yeah, back in the day, you watch the American Ninja Show, and I'd be like, yeah, whatever. Now I'm like, yeah, that dream is over for me. Because I mean, I've done obstacle courses and I've done things. I've competed against
We used to train together.
foreign nations in obstacle courses, and like I've done like you don't swim in the army, but I'm the one diving in the water. Like. But anyway, I was a knucklehead that way. Um, but anyway, yeah, projects. I also got a restaurant bar, burgers and fish tacos.
Any specials this week?
I let the gals decide that. You do not want me picking the special. I would be like zombie burger. To eat that mentally, zombies, burgers. Would you eat that? I thought it'd be cool, a little stick man. Grill that onto the bun and stick a knife in it. And, but then if you put extra sauce on it, is it too slimy? It's like, how do you make a zombie? But that has been something I've been wanting to work
Nice. That sounds good.
if I could make it.
Hey, one thing I want to point out too for anybody listening, we are streaming on X right now, and I just opened up the chat, so the live chat is active, and we will try to respond to anything that you put on our X and the X. You find us at the Rixican Show. Just put in X, look for Rix ICAN show.
Ricks I can.
Yep, and
Part of that is I've lived overseas. Pura vida. Por tu culpa.
whoa, no es mi culpa.
Yeah, so part of that is just a white boy that has experienced
I explain it as
different countries.
like American but Rixican,
Or Mexican.
because everybody wants to get offended.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if they get offended, they get offended. I'm not a hater, so
I am.
yeah, go ahead. Hate, hate, hate.
Really quick, I want to give a shout out to also if you want to get your car worked on at all. I told Dan I'd do a shout out for Brothers Automotive. Rick has been there. He sent other people there. Great work, great shop, all the tools you need to get it done at a low price. Most of the time, he will flat rate it just to save you some money. And if you want anything done at all, call 509-361-9443. You can find them at brothersautomotive.net on the web. You can find them on Google, on the Facebook, all that. So Brothers Automotive. If you have anything big or small, engine swaps, transmission swaps, you name it, it's all available. Brothers Automotive. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, we love to support our local businesses, even if you're a competitor of mine.
Yes.
And I can do a shout out.
Yep, that's right. Come on the show. We'll bring you
Yeah,
on.
yeah. You can.
And we'll tell you why his
make
burgers
fun
are
of my
better.
food. I'll make fun of your food, right? Yeah, but yeah, we do a half-pound patty burger here and fish tacos, and the fish tacos are kind of a Cali Baja flavor. I was like, no one place in town has this. Come on,
Yeah.
make a good fish taco. But anyway, um, tons of stuff going on in the world and stuff. It's hard to keep up, and then you don't want to react too fast because you're like jumping off the wrong thing, and you're like, how do I, wait the 3 days and then get a little more information on what's going on? And then how do you look at it from a higher up perspective? You'll hear me say this all the time: left, right, independent, whatever, Democrats, Republicans, we're all slaves arguing. I stand by that. We're the little guys getting taxed at the bottom, and we're busy fighting. Who's shaking that jar for the red and black ants to fight? Look up, see the hand, and I get it's like you'd be like, do your own research. Some of this stuff you just like, there isn't any. So how do you research something that the breadcrumbs aren't quite there to put it all together? And so hopefully I can share a few perspectives with you, insights. You don't have to agree or disagree with me. It's just perspective. Take it for what it's worth. So the TikTok ban, I stand by this. It's not going away. It's too big to fail.
Too big to fail.
There could be a few bumps in the road, but they will bring the infrastructure here and it will continue. There's a huge in case it fails, there's this exodus to RedNote, and they're doing it because it's a Chinese company, and they're like, we're all going to download another Chinese app, and then you can try to shut that one down. So there's like this rebellion going on in the social media circle, which is it's kind of fun, and it's fun to watch the. There's these, I don't know if they're Chinese, these Asian guys. They're like, hello, I am your Chinese spy. It's been fun. I've been watching you for 2 years, 5 years. And they're
I'm
like,
gonna miss you.
yeah, the guy's like,
They're playing like soft music in the
like,
background.
been spying on you. And he's like, Alora in Michigan.
Nice tits. Oh, sorry. He said that in the video.
Yeah, he's like, hey, don't drink soda. It's bad for you. Hey, be nice to your mom. And this person, don't date that guy. He's got other girls on the side. Like they're spying on us. So it cracked me up. I laughed at that. So if you see that video, I thought that was hilarious. But anyway, the truth is, you're already spied on.
Yep.
That is the truth. And boy, I'm gonna take a tangent here. My ADD's kicking in, folks.
Uh-oh.
Uniform code, uniform commercial code.
Should I zoom in really close for this?
Yeah.
Okay, super high tech.
Google it.
Super zoom. You're gonna see it right up close on his face. This is how serious he is.
A creditor can watch or track a debtor. You pay taxes, you're a debtor.
Look at that dome.
Sorry, that's what my mama gave me. I'll say it again. Uniform Code of Justice. You can just Google it. Can a creditor watch a debtor, and it'll pull up some stuff for you and all that stuff. But a creditor can. So you work, and they're allowed to monitor you, track you, watch your income, watch all this stuff, and track what you are to make sure you can pay the debt.
Mhm.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Half the people are like, that's a conspiracy. Uniform Code of Justice.
UCC. Yep.
UCC. I would say, dude.
It's uniform. Not Uniform Code of Justice. It's Uniform Commercial Code. Sorry. Just had to correct you.
Yeah, thank you. Uniform Commercial Code. Sorry. I mess up words all the time.
That's what I'm here for. Your babysitter.
Feel free to correct me. But yeah, I would say do your own research. It doesn't really matter. They're already watching you.
They are.
It's already doing its thing. I think they're just mad that somebody else is watching you.
They're jealous.
Yeah. It's just like, ooh, he's in the shower. And it's like, what? And they're like, Only I can watch. Is
Oh,
that a good metaphor, visual?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're gonna be called a xenophobe now.
Probably. I can't win. I'll misspeak. I'll offend people. I don't mean it. My dry wit, it is what it is. But I try to be as nice as I can. I don't mean to get anybody. I get unbiased and all that stuff.
I want to be that.
I have blinders on, right? I grew up in a garage. I know what it's like to have AC in a bedroom.
What? AC in a bedroom? What's that?
Yeah. I grew up 4 years in a garage all through high school. Lived in a garage, hot summer nights, cold winters, electric blankets.
Oh, speak of which, Mom, hi. I told him I was in a garage too. So I loved my garage bedroom.
Yeah.
She divided our garage into 3 bedrooms, and it was insulated. We actually had a shower out there, yeah, bathroom, and the bad part was laundry. Like if you were out late, which I was, I was young in my 20s, just out of the military, I'd be out till because I ran a production company, and we did all the band promotion in Portland, Oregon. So I'd be out till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, someone coming in the garage to do laundry.
Yeah.
That was not fun to wake up. So, Mom, except for the laundry, I enjoyed my garage bedroom. I know you're listening. I know you hear it. I still love you, though.
Love you. All right. I've heard all this stuff before, but it came up again yesterday. And so since I was reminded of it, I'm going to remind you. Something
Remind.
relearned.
Isn't that just remind?
Yeah, remind. I probably offended all the grammar people.
Oh,
School
that's
teachers
it.
will be like, you should have finished high school. I did. I went to college and I still can't spell. I'm sorry. It's just my brain. It's not my talent. What is a security?
How don't you tell me?
You can Google it. If you get down more towards the legal side of it, um, national security. What is security? SEC. So they've kind of changed some of the definitions, right? It's safety, this and that. That is not what it is. That's like the new definition of it. Security, safety, all that. A security is a financial transaction. Everything is done is a financial transaction.
Yes.
So they would say, oh, marriage. Marriage is a bond, a financial transaction. Now, you on the ground, your vision is love, harmony, a union of families, bond. That is a financial transaction. Just go back, binding kingdoms together. It is a financial transaction. Everything is finance.
Yep.
So when they're saying, and maybe I could tie this into the TikTok ban. This is a thing of national security. Security is money. TikTok is hurting the money. Right? And because it's a security, I don't know if I'm going to explain this right.
Uh-oh.
There's some things that are confidential and you can't talk about. So when they're like, we want the government to be transparent, legally, they're like, it's a security, it's financial. We can't tell you because you're in a debtor position. You're not a creditor. You don't have rights to know. The whole system is financial. Just something to process. Agree, disagree, I don't care because you're like, no, I'm married for love. Ask anyone divorced if it's financial.
Going into UCC, adding a little bit to that. Under the Black's Legal Dictionary, which is what they use in Uniform Commercial Code, a license is permission to do anything that's otherwise deemed illegal, like marriage.
Yeah.
Like when was marriage ever deemed illegal? But they have to have that in order to have that relationship between the person and the government.
Okay.
So it is creating a space that's where you're not allowed in the Constitution, where they're having a relationship with the business entity of you and not the actual person of you, if that makes sense.
Okay.
In the Bible, Jesus would say right there, let him that has ears to hear, let him hear. So I would say in normal words, if you know what I'm saying, great. If not, look it up.
There you go. Do your own research, whatever that is. You're
Yes.
just going to find what you want. We're all looking for evidence to affirm our bias, right? All
Yeah.
right. So, women in combat, women in war. What are your thoughts? Pro, con, whatever? Honestly, where are my pro women at? Women in combat.
Get mad.
Some of them are like better shooters than the men, right? They're more steady. Wouldn't you want that? Protecting you. Um, I'm going to share a couple things with you that are not talked about, and that's why I think I share it every once in a while.
And I have to preface this. What he's sharing is based on studies that he's read and seen, and it's not his personal opinion.
It is now.
He doesn't look down on women. He doesn't think he's better than a woman.
No.
He looks the equality, but going on some studies. So please leave your offense somewhere else and don't be offended. Just look it up yourself and see what they're saying.
All right. So for more information on this, what I'm about to share with you, you could look up Colonel Grossman.
Yes.
He's a Army Ranger officer. He got out, became a psychologist, and they began studying stuff to find things about PTSD. And along the trail, they found evidence for certain behaviors that they were like, they found it out on accident.
Oh.
You got to love the accidental, like, and so we'll jump into it. So, mostly, thankfully, through the police departments because the military is more like private. We don't, they can talk to their people, but outsiders can't. So, like, you get to talk to us after we get out while we're in. Anyway, so they were interviewing police and their wives and their girlfriends after a shootout, right? Combat.
Best time to interview him. Yeah.
Yeah. Post interview, after action review, whatever. How's he doing? Is he adjusting? He killed somebody. He unalived. Sorry, I'll take it down. He unalived somebody. How is he coping with that?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Oh, he's okay." Da 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 da. And one of the girls in the room was like, "Oh, we had wild sex that night," and everyone was like, "What?" And three other girls started giggling, going, "Yeah, it was great that night." And so, he didn't see it coming. They're like, "What is going on here?" So now that opened the door to do more research in, hey, are all these other guys that have been in a combat situation, what is their sex life? And they're finding out that they were officer would get into a pew pew thing and then go to the bar, bring somebody home, like, and they're like, what is going on with the male condition that he has this surplus energy for sex?
Yeah.
What is it?
Why can't you say sex?
I don't know.
Oh.
I can't spell.
He said sex.
So what is it? Now, my summary is it is adrenaline. After an adrenaline moment, the male is looking for a release. Now, in the military, there's an issue with sexual harassment. What will happen, and granted, the men outnumber the women, right? If you have a squad or whatever, it's 1, 2 women and, you're, dozen guys. What will happen after a firefight? They have an adrenaline moment.
Yeah.
And as they're coming down, they're like, I need a release. And then they look over and be like, hey, baby, I found an outlet for my release. So I believe sexual harassment will skyrocket with women in combat. It is like, you were a lovely person. I'm sorry, you're looking like a piece of meat right now. It's like, I have these needs, right? Granted, we should control ourselves, and many can, but people may test the boundaries. You're like, hey, you want to, that people are going to test those boundaries. So, women in combat, it's something that we should look into, you know, just food for thought. After an adrenaline moment, Men are looking for a release. The data suggests uh, sex after an event, uh, and and then take another tangent. People
I was going to say I like sex after events.
after a pew pew event.
Oh,
So
okay.
after a knife event, so let's say you have a criminal that they unalive somebody and uh, they used a knife and they stuck that person 37 times. Psychologists know that that person is going to have sexually deviant behavior. There is a connection between death and sex somehow. And so they'll be like, oh, if they're willing to put a knife in somebody that many times, they know they're going to have an aggressive sexual behavior. So it's a little less with pew pews because the knife is very personal. Um, and basically, anyway, hopefully you're tracking what I'm throwing down here.
I'm picking it up.
So, increase of huge sexual assault potential and sexually deviant behavior because of adrenaline and stuff. Now, not everything has to be a firefight for an adrenaline experience because many people have PTSD that have never seen combat because of what if.
Yeah.
We're conditioned to see it, so it's kind of like a reality thing. But most of us are relaxed about it because when you get in your car, you're like, "Oh, don't get in a car accident," and you don't think that way. You're like, "I got to get in my car and go." But in the military, you're trained like the car accident's right around the corner. It could happen. The enemy's right there. They're waiting to ram your car. Every person's going to run a red light, like because your head's on a swivel. So you're indoctrinated in a way to look for things. So some people have PTSD that never saw combat because what if things get unalived and it's traumatic, but nothing happens.
Hmm.
I've seen it. I have friends that have it.
Interesting.
And I have friends that have been close to things and nothing, there was no blood, and they're like shooken up. I'll never see fireworks again. Anyway, a few tangents there, but hopefully you can see the picture I'm painting. Sexual assault, is it worth it putting women in combat? I believe it will increase. Some of you are probably like, I've never heard this anywhere before. Like, all they talk about is more equality and this and that and the thing. And that's fine. You can talk about that all you want. I'm like, cool. We all have our talents, gifts, whatever. And let's do that. The second thing they notice is in combat, when you're under fire, when a woman turns to pink mist, the men, you're trained to continue attacking the enemy until it's suppressed before you render aid.
Yeah.
There's a huge increase of, oh, she's down, and they will stop returning fire and render aid and risk losing the mission to render aid. And I think it might be the protector role in males versus the nurture role in women. I'm not a pro at explaining this. I'm doing the best I can.
Stupid.
Yeah, I'm like nurture. Maybe that's not the. There's a male female counterpart there, and when a woman turns to pink mist, the men are going to have more emotional problems because they failed as a protector. And I was like, oh, that's strike two of having women in combat. Now I've been with some women that they can carry the gear, they're strong. They were stronger. Some of the men soldiers were like, hey, that's awesome. But when it comes down to it, were there psychology issues going on that we should be aware of? And at least should be discussed, and then they can decide. But that's one of the reasons I'm like, you know what? Let's not. Why if the military, I mean, they're kind of testing it a little bit, but I mean, if you want a special forces women group, man, make it all female. Like you want your, Charlie's Angels, make it all female, keep it somewhat separate, so when the pew pewing starts, people can, you know, complete the mission if that's what you believe in. But these are things that isn't talked about. So hopefully that's a little perspective that you're like, that's interesting. And you could weigh out is an adrenaline release, is that enough concern to keep women from being sexually harassed?
So is that what happens on submarines then? Just kidding.
I was not in the Navy. What you guys don't ask, don't tell. You violated so many policies. But it's just something to think about. So maybe some of those decisions need to be made with more information so that they can make the proper choice. You know, um,
I like making proper choices.
you know, I I mean, I served with women. I've had women leaders. Like everyone, the basics are the basics. That's not the question. You know, you know, that's fine. But even the people in basic positions, they are exposed to combat. But and so we could probably deal with that. Okay, you're driving a truck in a convoy, stuff happens. Things get blown up. You got to deal with it. But the guys that are on the front lines, they have to deal with it the mostest. I would say give them every advantage possible, is my take. So, after saying all that, you should know by now that I would say no, don't put women in combat. Keep the sexual harassment down, you know. But, and I have other, I guess, views on that from um, profiling uh, many women in the military. And so I have kind of an opinion about, a certain things that have happened to them to have them desire to go into the military. So, but that's another story for another time. Um, just observations of my biased opinion. So, women in combat, what do you think? Do I have any credibility? Is there any is that something worth even thinking about? Maybe I'm biased. To me, I'm like, that's kind of a no brainer. If after an adrenaline moment, if the desire for sexual release increases, calm the nerves or whatever, um, hmm, will that transition into the thing? And I get the debate. Men should have self control. I get all that, but have you been with the guys in the locker room? Even if they keep their hands to themselves, they say things, and the military is kind of a blunt, yelling place. It's not like a sweet talk place. And in the heat of the moment, it's not sweet talking either.
No.
It's I mean, and you're trained to yell. You gotta yell.
I got to say though too,
Hear you when things are blazing.
one thing that is being missed here, I think that needs to be added is that it goes both ways. So the women are having that same response, and thus the pheromones are increased at both level on both people,
Yeah.
and having a mutual. It's not like they're.
Do the women need a release too? Is that what you're saying?
It's not like the guy's forcefully taking it. It's 99.9% of the time, I believe it's a mutual consent. Maybe coerced a little bit, but I don't think it's being done in ill form at all by anyone. I think it's received equally by both parties, and so I think that it has to affect the women as well too.
Well, in this case, it's their wives and girlfriends are going to a bar and bringing somebody home. So I get it's mutual. But on the battlefield, you're not with your wife. You're not with these people. You have your your battles with you, and you're like, is there a possibility for that? And I guess more studies can be done.
Infidelity, you're talking about.
Infidelity, whatever, and there's a bit of that happens already.
That's an I word. I don't like that word.
Yeah, and I don't know if women have an adrenaline moment. Maybe the males are the victims.
Here's a crazy thing to know:
Like,
statistics.
"Oh, a piece of me."
It's statistically proven women are 60% more likely to cheat than men because women are more emotional, they say about it, the studies, and men are more logical. And they're like, well, she's going to divorce me. She finds out I'm going to lose the kids, the house. But the woman gets caught up in the moment. So I wonder if that plays a part of it as well, too.
Well, I'm not here to discuss who cheats more than another.
Neither. That's not my point. I'm just saying
People
it's got to
do,
be
people
mutual.
don't.
It's
Yeah,
got to be mutual. It's
yeah,
to a degree.
yeah. But yeah, there could be more infidelity. But yeah, it's a question that should be researched, I think, more. And
Do you think AI is involved at all?
the real reason people cheat is AI.
I just say that because that's one of the next
I had no
topics.
idea he was hot, but yeah, I told you. Or she, or it.
I just brought that up because AI is one of our topics of discussion today. So
Yeah. All right. So moving on. Women in combat, we'll leave that one alone. But a lot of times people are so busy discussing equality things that I'm like, let's talk about a couple things that they noticed and have done some studies on.
yeah,
So Colonel Grossman books are on combat and on unaliving. I want to might get canceled just by saying the title of the book. Um, so you can look that up. It's an interesting read. They get into video games and a whole bunch of psychology things, and even school pew pewings. They get into a lot of those things as well. In his stuff. So it's kind of an interesting concept. Take it for what it's worth. All right. What to talk about next? I got in my notes here Trump, Ripple, and his legal team meeting. And he had a red folder. I don't look into that stuff, but they've been signing stuff. What does that mean for Ripple XRP? And I don't care if you're interested in crypto or not. A lot of people, I mean, only a small percentage of people have it. Um, but if you looked at my predictions um, that I gave, maybe I've lost my mind. That's okay.
that was yesterday, by the way.
Yesterday,
You can find it on Rumble.
I did 2025 predictions, and I have 9 predictions. And one of them is the North American continent is going to be on the same currency. So you heard, and there's a picture being painted. So I'll explain this again. There's the Gulf of America, Panama Canal, Greenland, Canada, 51st state, 53rd state, 50 this. So you see this picture being painted. Tariffs, all this stuff. We're politically at war, right? Well, as the financial gates are going to realize it's more messed up than what we thought. As soon as Trump takes office, we're going to get news. It's bad juju.
Bad juju.
And there's a tariff battle going on and all this stuff. And would a cryptocurrency, XRP, potentially uh, be like, this will be solve the money issue and there'll be no tariffs, like the euro
Yeah.
with crypto. And maybe it's open borders. I don't know. Maybe it's a state. Maybe I don't think they care. I don't think the people that have planned this for 20 years care if Canada stays Canada. I just think if we can move them on to the dollar, if we can move them on to XRP, bingo, bada bing, bada boom. The ledger can convert it super fast from, the Canadian dollar to, anyway, to a US peg thing, and it'll unify North America, and off we go. So that's one of my predictions that I think is going to happen. And there's many others. There's like 9 of them.
Yeah.
So, caused a ruckus. There's a solution. I think something's coming down the pipeline fairly quickly in the next 60 days. But what do I know? Just some simple guy that lives in a garage. um, let's see. So a couple dates to look for tomorrow. The SEC court case. They're supposed to say something. It's potentially they will drop the case. Right now, XRP is deemed not a security. Bitcoin and Ethereum are regulated by the SEC. They are a security. Those are for the people. XRP is for the private sector.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess I'll leave it at that. I can get into structures and all that stuff and what possibly could happen there, but but there's going to be some movement back and forth. If you're in XRP, I expect there will become a time where you're going to have to get out of it because it's designed for the banks. So right now, you have a chance to get in on it, potentially ride the wave, but you're going to be forced to get out. And so something that if it's only for like reserve currencies to use, if it's structured that way, if Swift buys it and makes it what it is, then it's possible that you can have tokens there, but because you can't talk to a reserve bank, you won't have access to it. So there is a possibility of I got to get in. When they say to get out, I got to get out. And unless you're structured like a bank, then you can keep it. There's some funny things going on there. Trust me, you're not smarter than these guys, than the financial world. You are not smarter than the financial world. I am not smarter than they are. So
I'm pretty smart.
it doesn't matter.
Oh,
We could left, right, idea, whatever. We are slaves arguing. We don't have the playbook. We don't have the plan. So whatever we say doesn't really matter. What I just said doesn't matter. But it is something that you should pay attention to. But the info I'm getting is Swift will buy XRP. And all this game of it being independent, all that stuff, it was all part of the plan to bring it in, but it's all regulated. Blockchain, they're looking at everybody. They're like, oh, let's create Bitcoin, let's test this thing. And then you have blockchain that only they could look at, but no, they're watching it. Let's bring in this group. Let's bring in the cartels. Let's bring in this. And like, oh, we're all using this private thing that's supposed to be secure and unnoticed. They're looking at it. They have access.
speak of which, yesterday you brought up Cold Wallet, and a lot of people asked since the broadcast yesterday what we suggested for a Cold Wallet. I did some research, and one of the best ones I found out there is Decent. That's D-CENT. It's a biometric wallet, and it uses fingerprint authentication. You can add 3,000 plus coins and tokens, NFTs, and it's available on Amazon for about $139. If you go to X and look at this podcast there, I actually put a link in the chat there.
On TikTok, there's a lot of stuff about Oculus.
Yeah.
You connect it to your phone at Bluetooth and does it that I don't know. But
And I stayed away from Bluetooth just because I'm not completely convinced on the technology for it, whereas fingerprint is more secure. And so I went that route. And my Decent Cold Wallet will be here tomorrow. And like I said, I put a link in the chat on the X feed for this.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to see that one, it's on Amazon for $139.
Now, with crypto, we all talk like we know what we're talking about, but once again, nobody knows what's going to happen. But Rick's opinion is it will be adopted, it will come in. And if you look at what's being done, I mean, Trump is meeting with these guys. And so all these guys are excited. I mean, there's people they call it President Donald Pump, pumping the coins, right? President Crypto Pump, like there's guys excited and they think this is going to take off. So I know there's people that could care less about it, but I think they're bringing it in as one stepping stone as we get into the quantum financial system.
Yes.
But that is going to be later. First, they got to wrap this up before they add the other.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Which I value your opinion.
Could be right, could be wrong, but these are you throw the pebbles and sand and, stuff in a dish and reading the tea leaves, right? This is what we're doing. What's next on my list?
They know we're streaming.
Oh, another fun definition for you. I've heard this before, but it came up. Right? The definition of a human.
Uh-oh.
Someone want to Google that for me? Blacklaw's Dictionary would be the best one.
I'm Googling it right now.
Yeah, legal. Anybody know what that is? What is the definition of a human in legal terms? it makes me think. It's almost like you can't talk to people anymore because like people are like, oh, we're just having a meeting and this and that, and you're like, oh, you're a beautiful human. I was like, do you know what that means? What does it mean?
Here
There's
it
a few
goes.
people in here that have to know what it means.
Black's Law Dictionary considered a member of a species, Homo sapiens, at all stages of development from conception to natural birth. That's what it says in Black's Legal Dictionary.
What's the There's another definition out there that it's like a species, whatever, and I think it's not allowed to own land.
Hmm.
That's what I'm looking for. A monster that cannot own land is the summary of it. Where's that one found?
Oh, hold on, I'm looking.
Something about can't own property. Yeah, that's the one, Rita. There's one it's like a monster that can't own property is the summary of what I heard. I've heard it before. They talk about it. But so when you're in the court system and you're like, they have person, citizen. A lot of these are corporate words. And so you're like, how do I navigate that? But they have meaning to the people ruling us. To us, we're like, oh, you're a beautiful human. Energy, vibes,
A
5D.
prodigious birth, a human birth, or offspring not having the shape of mankind, which cannot be heir to any land, albeit it be brought forth in marriage. So we can't.
Can't be an heir to any land. Yeah.
Oh
Anyway,
wow.
kind of interesting. So the people that are governing us have a different definition than what you learned about in school. Just like security, what you learn about in school is safety, this and that. It's a financial, the SEC,
Yeah. Lateral damage. I talked about it
national
yesterday.
security. Everything is financial. They do little word plays, right? State and estate is the same thing. We should be like the Constitution of the 50 estates. So when you vote, you're giving them the ability to manage your estate. You are property. Anyway, you can go down that rabbit hole if you like. It's pretty fun. That's why I say we're slaves arguing Democrat, Republican, independence, left, right, center.
This is found in the 1948 edition of Palatine's Law Dictionaries, where that's found. Just FYI.
Palatine's Law Dictionary. Anyway, food for thought. But I think if it, and I don't know, if you ask AI what the definition is, it might not be what that definition is. I don't know if AI has, if they've downloaded, some books. Real depth. Oh, another fun one is the money one. You guys gone down the money rabbit hole? That
Oh
so
yeah,
you're like your maritime law, money is water, currency, right? You put your money, water flows down, like there's banks, you put your money, your currency money in
cash
a bank,
flow. Yeah,
cash flow. Um, yeah, all these terms, yeah, maritime law. And it's crazy to think about that because when I speak randomly to people, I'm not thinking about the cost of the stuff that comes out of my mouth. I don't think about
no,
the power of the words that I use. Um, it's incredible to think about that. And sometimes I got to remind myself that go, man, these words have more power than I realize. Right,
oh yeah,
the power of the pen, mightier than the sword, because we live in contract law.
yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy to think about. Um, and here's something I'm trying to learn, and maybe some of you guys know more about this than I am. And I have a general understanding of it just by concept, but
Yeah.
I don't understand the details behind this. So, um, I was told, for whatever it's worth, that we're coming out with an upgraded internet, 5G, 5D, fifth dimension, Web 3. Um, and people be like, what's the purpose of Elon Musk? Starlink? I didn't quite put that together as being part of being able to operate under this new um, what I was told is a higher vibrational internet.
Yeah.
Right now, our internet's in three dimension, 3D, and you're getting into that spiritual realm where like we're transitioning from 3D to 5D. We're getting ready. If you're biblical, you're like, hey, we're getting ready for what the sign of the beast and going into this 1,000 years of peace, right? Where Christ reigns. You got Christ consciousness. You got this spiritual thing. Whatever level you're looking at it, I know some people are like anti-God, and other people are like, no, I'm into this thing, and I'm trying to lay the different layers for you because the playbook is somewhat the same. And much of the playbook that the elite use is the Bible. They just read it and interpret it uh,
No way that works for them.
differently.
Yeah.
While you're like talking about baptism, they're like, no, we're talking about structure and this and that.
Sorry to interrupt. You have a appointment at 1, right?
Yeah,
We're getting close.
yeah, 12:30, getting close. Okay. Anyway, so this new computer system will be able to handle super AI where our current one won't. So I'm trying to figure out put all this together. A fifth dimensional internet, more wireless, more like I can't comprehend. Does it still use ones and zeros? Like, what is it? I was told some other information about it, but I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know. But I've heard about Web3, right? We get to own more of it. You know, we get to be the center of that and create. And then if people are interested, you get paid directly, less middlemen. Like I've heard all this stuff, but like,
That'll be a good question for Corey on Monday. He's going to talk about crypto, and we can have him.
yeah,
He does a lot of coding.
see if they know more about it.
He does stuff in X's and or ones and zeros.
Yeah. But my understanding was this was the scary part that I was like, whoa. He was like, when they booted up this new internet, some of the old stuff will be lost or not compatible. And I was like, what? It's like Y2K all over again. The Great Reset, everything, all the conspiracies you heard of. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. It could go smooth as can be, but there might be some disruptions when they bring it into play. And so I was like, huh. Or they purposely create disruptions so they can control the narrative and keep you as us slaves arguing. So I was like, because maybe they're like, oh, it can be seamless. Let's add some bumps in the road because we can. Like I don't know what these guys are up to, but it's a concept that I'm like, I don't understand. You know, 3D internet and 5 dimensional internet. Maybe it's getting into some woo-woo stuff there. I'm like, I don't. I'm having trouble putting the pieces together, but
Yeah.
planting some seeds out there. Maybe you guys have it figured out. Maybe you're like, oh yeah, 5D internet, yeah, because we're going into the fifth dimension and we're gonna be more spiritual, and third dimension we left behind. You got all these concepts out there. I'm just looking at like different points of view and see how they line up to see if what the possibilities are. But that is kind of one of the woo-woo things that I was like, I don't know what to think about that. Anyway,
Yeah.
also, right, Elon Musk, Starlink, that'll get everybody on the internet. Some people be like, that's gonna help with the sign of the beast. Everyone have to transact. Maybe, maybe not. And then in 2023, Biden put in Executive Order 14110, and that put regulations on artificial intelligence. So watch for that to get deleted, removed, whatever, so that they can make super AI. They're like, free the beast. Maybe that's a bad pun. Free the beast. Let him go. But those are things to watch for. It might even happen behind, you might barely notice. But I think artificial intelligence is going to be a huge thing, and it has its good and it has its bad. And what do we do with that? What do you do when you wake up in the morning and AI's like, "Good morning. I woke you up 15 minutes early because I know you're slow. Time to get to work. Da, da, da. Oh, why don't you go this route? There's an accident. It's guiding you through your day." And you're like, "That's cool." It's like, "Hey, there's an investment, XRP." You're like, "Okay." You're like doing this, and you're like, "Life is pretty good." And then you wake up and like, "Oh, my battery on my phone's dead." And you're like, "Ah." You drive to work and there's car accidents and you hit every red light and you stub your toe and you're like, "And my life is much smoother with my AI buddy." You know, it's going to be kind of a funny thing. You're going to have a new best friend guiding you through it, business partner, whatever you want to call it. For some of you guys, a lover. Have you seen the robots? Finally, I'm not lonely. I have someone to talk to. But it's something that I'm like, huh, it has its good and bad. Life is smoother. Um, Maybe that's the Antichrist right there. Your dependence on that. I don't know. And I don't claim to know. I've had that reported to me, but I was like, huh, interesting concept. Um, I was like, maybe it's your phone. You hold it in your hand in your face. I'm like, there it is. But I don't get too caught up in that. I just like to talk about the highlights of concepts out there. So um, that wraps up all my hot points for today, guys. I was going to share some more stories with you, but I think we'll save it for the next go around. I got an appointment coming up. So, well, thanks for coming. TikTok's going to stay. Women in combat, be careful. Adrenaline makes men horny. That's the concern there, right? Let's see. Ripple making some Trump team potentially signing some documents. We're like, ooh, getting steps closer to bringing that into the financial system. We didn't even talk about my spirit animal. Man,
Oh Lord.
I don't know what it is because I fell off a ladder, broke my ribs, and like, it's not flying squirrel, it's not sugar glider, it's not American Ninja. Like, I totally hit the ground and broke. And I was like, what is my spirit animal? It's a turtle right now. Probably a turtle. Slow and steady wins the race, folks.
Before we go, remember please to like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your friends' family.
Yep, it's on Rumble. We had trouble hooking the live stream up to
Facebook and TikTok. But we'll have that on Monday. And Monday we have a special guest.
You don't get to see everybody in the studio. It's kind of biased if you're on TikTok.
And Monday we'll have a special guest. We'll be going over a lot of crypto stuff and even internet coding, like you were talking about.
Yeah,
too.
I got people asking me, should I buy crypto? Man,
tune in for Monday and you'll get some good answers.
I think it's a good thing, but you got to get in and out at the right times is kind of what I'm hearing. And it's like, man, how do you manage that? It's a exciting time. There's some big bumps in the road coming. I don't care if you're a Trump supporter or not. There are some bumps in the road coming, and it's by design. All right. We'll see you next time, guys. This is Rick signing out. Bye, folks.